Hello guys, this is DJ Studios and welcome back to a new series on my channel. Today we are going to be doing a Why Doctor Who Works for Doctor Who Series 3, Smith and Jones. After the heart-wrenching finale to Series 2, Series 3, after the Christmas special, Series 3 tries to bring back a new companion in the form of Martha, and she's a doctor, a trainee doctor, and she wants to, so she wants to take her exams, and, and you are shown a lot about her and a lot about her life in this episode, and then you see how her life then turns upside down when you are introduced to the Doctor, and then the scenario that she's put into. Martha, in fact, is the first thing that I'm going to talk about. So, Martha, the good thing about Martha is that she does not replace Rose. So, unlike Bill, she's like a carbon copy of Clara, but she has different points to her. Martha is completely different. She's smart, and I'm sure that Rose is smart, but Martha, is academically smart, and she, has her family of her own, and you see at the beginning her trying to sort of control it, I suppose, the moment when she's getting wronged by basically her family, talking about how her dad has got a new girlfriend or something, and that person is gonna basically stir, and what they're going to do about it. So this new series means that you do not need to have any previous knowledge of the previous series to actually understand what's going on. Unlike now, they didn't have anything that led over seasons. So when you come into this, you're explained to about who the Doctor is, and you're explained to about what the creatures are, and where they are, and every single little thing is, sort of numbed down, so then the new watcher can understand what's going on. And you don't need to, watch Series 2 to then understand Series 3, is what I mean. Which is obviously a great positive when you're trying, when you start out and you start watching this, which, come to think of it, Series 2 may have been the first series that I started watching. However, Series 3 is the first series I actually remember watching. And this would have been probably the first episode in my head that I actually generally remember, like, fondly. When everything seems to start going bad for Martha, we're introduced to the Judoon. And these things stomp, and you hear each and every little stomp set to some brilliant music. And it's just such an immersive, interesting scene. Even though I've seen it hundreds of times, well, not hundreds, but I've seen it a few times now, that I still look at that sequence, so even though I know what happens, I'm still thinking, this is a cool sequence, I'm going to stop and just watch this, because I was meant to take notes during this about the episode, and that's what I was doing here. Is, if you can see, this is where I've got a laptop basically on my arm, is because that's where I've written it all. And I've noticed that throughout I really wasn't writing a great deal, because I was actually watching the episode and being fully immersed into it. I forgot that what I was doing. I think this scene is part of that. Something else that makes this episode really, really good is the pacing. I think the pacing really makes this episode. You see the Judoon bit that I said about, and that makes you watch it, and then you kind of get immersed into the entire story as many times as you watch it. So I got basically immersed from the beginning. Again, like I said before, I didn't write any notes during it because I was so immersed in what was going on the screen. And I think the reason for this is because of the pacing. The pacing keeps you entertained throughout. There's not a dull moment or a dull scene. Every single line has a purpose, so it doesn't drag or have a slow moment or anything. So there's the two villains, which we'll talk about now. So we've got the slabs, and they're basically just leather things, and they're a little bit campy, but I'll let it slide as they're not really the main bad guy. Then we've got the Judoon that aren't really the bad guys, but let's just call them, I won't call them allies. They're a bit reckless and they're not very afraid to kill people or anything. They have their own set way and they are not gonna break that, because they want to, as well as the design of the Judoon are really cool. Even that rhino face is so cool when they first walk in and you see the face move, even though it's clearly added on afterwards. The muscles and everything, because that's not a real face. They haven't put that over a face. That's a robot. That's a robot. That's somebody may be controlling it, but that's a robot on someone's head. And then there's the Pyrovite. I'm going to type it down here. You won't be able to read it because it's some weird space language. Neither can I. That's why I'm writing it down here. But that's also cool, the idea of taking someone's blood, not just drinking it. Well, that's a bit vampire, so they haven't, they've kicked that out of the way, and they're saying that she's assimilating it instead to try and simulate what the blood is to make herself human, so then she's not traced. It's a very, very clever idea as well. So the ending is also quite clever. It's a very simple, non-convoluted ending that doesn't require any sonic screwdrivers or anything like that. She drinks his blood. She wants to assimilate the blood, but she doesn't know that he's not human. So when she drinks it, she's still got alien blood in her. So therefore, that's even set up, because you notice earlier that when she took a trace of that blood, trace of the doctor's saliva, when Martha kissed the doctor, you saw that the Judoon had to take a check of her just to make sure that she wasn't the person they were looking for. But it's a non-convoluted ending. If you think about it, it's a very intense ending as well, because of the way that it's broadcast, the way that the imagery goes through it. It's the doctor carrying Martha, half dead himself, as he walks up with that teeth thing that he does, walks up and looks at the Judoon as they fly away, saying that they should change it, take them back. And then, peace is restored. The message of this episode is that stories should be simple and not try to be over clever. Something that makes a story good is if the characters are good, and if the scenario is good. Not if at the end they make some convoluted answer to the question, leave plot threads open, or plot holes, or anything along those lines that do really annoy me nowadays. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. This has been Dear Studios. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure you give it a like, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.